right after you get hurt, you limit the car's ability to get to as good a place as it can be. So what happens is it heals like this, and it doesn't return to this. But if you rehab it right, it comes back like this, and it can actually even be better and stronger than before. And that is the goal. And every one of you guys, if it's one thing that you learned today, understand that pain and injury, it's just information if you do something about it. But it's bad information if you don't listen to your body. So let's talk about injury and pain. What's the number one, Chris, don't answer the question. What's the number one predictor of injury? Swelling. Okay. Try again. Let's get a different one. What? No, don't answer the question. What's the number one predictor? I'm a GM. Okay. I'm thinking, am I going to sign Steph Curry? Man, that guy's broke down. Okay. Am I going to sign him? 44 games? Come on. What? I don't need a guy for 44 games. What's the number one predictor?
Whether he's been injured in the past.
Right. The number one predictor of future injury is prior injury. Once you get hurt once, you're more likely to get hurt again, unless you identify that as your weakness and come up with a strategy to remedy it. Pain is your body's way of telling you something. That's your body's way of talking to you. Okay? I once tried to explain to a CrossFit girl, I was doing a presentation, that pain is important and you should listen to it. And she says, well, I only have pain when I do this. I go, well, maybe you shouldn't do that until you figure out why your body's giving you pain in that position. She said, well, I really like doing that. I said, okay, cool. I said, you have a boyfriend? She goes, yeah. I said, look, let's say my wife says to me, we got a problem in our marriage, right? And then I leave the house. I can't hear her. Problem's gone, right? No, the problem is still there. So you got to listen to pain. You got to ask yourself, what's it doing? Okay. The next thing is inflammation. So Isaac mentioned swelling, inflammation. Yes, sir.
I sprained my ankle like beginning of the preseason. Like some dude said on my ankle, and I was like out for like 2 weeks. And I did like that stuff right there, the hot and cold, and then resting and elevating and stuff. But like certain days, my ankle would be swollen after practice.
Yep.
And then I was playing with an ankle brace the rest of the season, then I took it off when we did workouts at Skyline.
Okay, cool. You know what? Let me pause and take you back to this right here. Okay, you identified that you had an injury, right? You had a strategy, right? You executed the strategy, right?
Yeah.
Didn't work, right?
No.
Okay, did you reevaluate? Did you measure it and say, okay, it didn't work? Did you try a different strategy?
No.
Okay, cool. So now you understand, as an athlete, that's your job. You got to go back to this every time. You own you. If it don't work, Coach Carl, this isn't working. Who should I talk to? Okay? Because if you don't tell anybody, I can't read your mind, but if you tell me, if you tell Coach Carl, you tell somebody, there's a chance somebody might be able to help you out there. But you got to ask for help. There's an old saying, a hand up is not a handout. So let's get back to this pain, inflammation. Inflammation in this country is some sort of a taboo. It's a bad word. Inflammation is not a problem. We have been programmed or evolved to have inflammation when we have injuries. Do you know why? Because that's our healing process. So when you take anti-inflammatories and ice, you are pushing the inflammation out. If you believe in God, I don't believe God made a mistake in the swelling process. He put that swelling in there for a reason. If you don't, if you believe in evolution, evolution has made it so that humans have been able to walk this earth for a long time. So the point is, we've all had this issue, inflammation. It's not a mistake. It happens for a reason. If you take anti-inflammatories and if you use ice to push the inflammation out, then what's happening is you are interrupting the natural healing cycle. Now, NBA Finals, I gotta play the next game. I'm gonna get in the tub and I'm gonna use the ice all day long. I'm gonna take the anti-inflammatories because my teammates are counting on me and it's a business and I gotta get out there. Totally get that. But when it's practice, we owe it to ourselves, you guys owe it to yourselves as athletes, and we as coaches owe it to ourselves to explain to the athlete, hey, inflammation is natural. Now, what's not natural is too much inflammation and stagnant inflammation. Inflammation that just stays there is a problem too. So remember Goldilocks? You can't have too much, you can't have too little. So this idea of ice and RICE, does anybody know what RICE stands for?
Ice compression.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, cool. You're fantastic, Coach B. So here's the deal. At the 49ers or at the Warriors, when those guys get hurt, they do not send them home and say, guys, grab a 6-pack of beer, lay on the couch and rest. So rest, out, ridiculous, bad advice. Now, ice, we talked about it. If you're in the NBA Finals and you got to play, let's get that ice going. Let's use the anti-inflammatories. Compression. Forgot to get this. One of these bands, what you do is wrap your joint that has swelling in it, 50% tension, 2 minutes, elevated above your heart, take it off. This is I think it's a $10 tool, money. And why is it important? Because compression is like lazy man's movement. And I'm gonna get to the real #1 anti-inflammatory in 1 second, the best thing that you should do. Because I skipped down to the bottom, and compression is valuable because what it does is in the instance that you can't move, like, hey, my leg's too sore, I can use compression to mimic lazy man's movement, so to speak. Follow? But the #1 overriding healing mechanism that we have as humans is appropriate movement. Pain-free circular motion surrounding the injured area. I hurt my ankle. I am going to start moving that in a pain-free circular way as quickly as I can. And I mean like right now. Chauncey, he's not here tonight, but he hurt his hamstring the other day. You know, I told him, hey, just start flexing and extending the leg. Flexing, extending the leg in a pain-free way. Because even if he couldn't play anymore that night, it still would have started the healing process because it would have started taking the old blood out and bringing new blood in, and the healing process is underway. So that's injury and pain. It's super important. Okay, let's talk about movement. So we're still on the foundation of health. Movement, your ability to actually control your joints with proper ranges of motion, having balance, posture, and things like that. Are you efficient? You know, can you get into the positions that basketball requires? And it's tough to watch somebody play basketball. They can't get into the positions mechanically, and they have to force their joints into something. That's really, really challenging. You guys can talk to Tutu, you can talk to Isaac, some of the guys that have worked with me, where we identify what their weak links are in the movement game and start getting them to move better. And then they're not practicing basketball, but yet they get better at basketball. That's fantastic. This is what I see common faults in basketball players. They don't have core and hips. Poor hips, poor core, Their feet and ankles, brutal. And they cannot stand on one leg. So if you guys want to see a quick test, here's what we'll do, because I know Zeke approached me, and I should have told you this ahead of time. But come on up here, take your shoes off, and we're going to run a quick test on him. He's dealing with some tendonitis issue, okay? We're just going to run a quick test on him because basketball is played on one leg, okay? So don't tell me which leg it is because I don't know. So here's what I want you to do. I just want you to stand here like this on your left leg for me. Yeah, make sure your left toes are pointing straight towards the wall. Okay. Okay. So get up just nice and tall. Just stand there for me. Look straight ahead. Cool. Can you close your eyes for me? Okay, that was 5 seconds with the eyes closed. Cool? Okay, let's see the right leg now. Okay, make the right leg straight. You look straight ahead. Just stand there. Don't close your eyes. Just stand. Okay, can you close your eyes for me? Okay. Did anybody see that when he had his eyes open, it was still harder on the right leg? Is the right leg the problem? Okay, cool. Have a seat for me. So, it's that obvious. This guy he's got two wheels, right? On this side of the car, the tires are pumped up. On this side, they're not. But then he's still driving. I saw him play on Monday night. He's still driving the car hard. I wouldn't drive that car hard right now because all you're doing is creating that asymmetry, and that's a problem. Basketball is played on one leg. You're either on one leg or both legs are up in the air. There's no two leg to this. So if you can't do it on your right leg, it probably is going to be a problem for you. The other thing about basketball that's really, really important that you guys have to know is human bodies. There's 3 planes of motion. Straight ahead, side to side, and rotation. Basketball is predominantly played in the rotational plane. My buddy Naveen, who runs the Wizards Performance, GPS is all his guys. Any idea how much of the game they play just running straight ahead? What's the percentage that they run straight ahead? Anybody know this?
85.
85% going straight ahead? Cool.
5.
How much?
5.
20. 20% of the game is running straight ahead. 20. The rest of the game is this, it's that, it's sideways, but it ain't straight. So if you are training straight, and if you're running sprints for basketball, probably not the right type of conditioning. If you're doing a bunch of forward lunging instead of doing some other type of lunging, some other different strength activities, you're missing the boat because that's not how the game is played. You got to break down the movements in the game in order to actually build the athlete to do what you want him to do. So anyhow, I can talk about that. I love movement. Movement is money. But if you got breathing and you have your sleep and hydration and nutrition and you're pain-free and you move well, man, I can do some stuff with you. I can build this because then when I give this guy over to Coach Carl, Coach Nick, Coach B, they are going to work the skills, no problem. Because the player has the ability to actually express the skill. So let's talk about performance, okay? Pros warm up and cool down. That's what pros do. Amateurs, they just show up and they play. Then they leave afterwards. No idea how to get their body and their mind prepared. Bless you. I'm not talking about fancy stuff. I'm not talking about fancy jump training and all this other stuff. And believe me, I love all of it. And we could talk about, French contrast training and all the fancy, but most of the guys, they can't do this. What are we talking about? Like trying to squat 500 pounds, the guy can't stand on one leg and the game's played on one leg. You have to be able to decelerate. If you cannot control eccentric forces, in basketball, you not only will you not stay healthy, but also you can't decelerate and cut, and you won't be able to express the skill that you have. And then last piece is pros manage loads. They understand how to push, and they understand how to rest and recover, and they are awesome at the Goldilocks rule. That's what the pros do. They know how to do that. I'm not going to talk about this. I'm not going to talk about it. But I want you guys to see that. I meditate. Pros meditate. Steph Curry may not meditate. I don't know what he does, but I know he has a float tank. He's big into float tanks. That's a form of meditation. It's a form of bringing your nervous system down. He owns that. Incredibly powerful tool. Happy to talk to you guys about it. And it's also not by chance that Michael, Kobe, and LeBron meditate. It's not by chance, because that's what elite guys do. And Steph too. So I'm almost wrapping up here. Here's the general observation. So I'm talking to Naveen, and we're going through some of his guys, and he's telling me like, oh, well, you know, John Wall, and then my other buddy trains John in the summer, Chad Waterbury, and John can roll out of bed, not play for 30 days, and triple-double you, right there. Just great parents. He has great parents. His parents, the genetics allow him to do that. Now, John Wall is not that interesting to me because I'm more interested in Markieff Morris. I'm interested in Ramon Sessions. Yeah, KU, exactly.
KU guy, Jayhawk.
So let's talk about those guys in a second. So here's what else pros do. They show up. They show up on time. And what on time means is 5 minutes early to everything. That's what pros do. Okay? Real, true elite guys. They bring the right attitude with the right effort every time. Every time. They give you their best effort. Their body language is fantastic. They always train smart first before they train hard. They don't just go out and train recklessly. Oh yeah, today I'm going to work out for 4 hours. No, that's not going to help anybody. They're consistent. Pros, the ones that stay for a long time, are consistent. Ramon Sessions, Naveen was telling me, he's just finished his 10th year. There was a time when he was at year 5 and 6 where he was kind of a marginal NBA guy, and he sat at the end of the bench, and you know, he could have gotten cut, but he shows up, he works hard, and he does the right thing 80% of the time. Now, we're all humans. We're not expected to be perfect, but the elite guys, they do the right thing 80% of the time, and yeah, they party a little bit 20% of the time, okay? But they know how to manage that. And a guy like Markieff Morris. So Markieff has got, after next year, his contract is up. So Markieff came to Naveen, he said, what do I got to do? Because that next contract is $20 million for me. What do I got to do? Well, Naveen told him, give me 30 minutes extra every day. Just give me 30 minutes. Show up early 15, stay late 15. Give me 30, and think about how much the compounding effect of that 30 minutes is going to be. Over the course of, 300 days, that's 150 hours extra that he put in of solid work, because I know Naveen, and he does amazing work, and so I know that Markieff and Ramon and all those guys and Wall, they're all doing amazing work, so they're getting better. By the way, I saw a great video today of John Wall playing one-on-one with a high school kid. So we're going to talk about humble and quiet confidence. This high school kid didn't have that. And it was just John Wall. I mean, I don't know why you would bark at John Wall, but he was barking at him, and he finishes one-on-one game with the most amazing thing about John Wall is his ability to dunk left-handed when he's right-handed. That is, his left-handed finish on the run is ridiculous, and he did that to this kid just to shut him up. And the kid, it was great. It was fantastic for an old guy to see. But true pros, are humble and they have a quiet confidence about it. They know they don't have to bark. They just show up and do their work. They constantly evaluate and reevaluate their systems and their strategies. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about this guy. I can never remember his name.
Excuse me, Leo.
Yes.
Say that statement again. I don't know if Mikhail and Devontae, that's Devontae. These three right there. What the humble part? Say it again.
It's important because here's the part about the humility piece that's really important is because there's this thing called the likability factor. And I talked to Tutu about this. Everybody's got a likability factor. People either like you or you don't. And if people don't like you, they're not willing to go the extra mile for you. And I'll tell you what, when Tutu was hurt, and I had a wife and kids at home and a business, I got my butt here every day, and I spent the time to get it right because I wanted to see him get healthy because I didn't want him to go to school and have his knee hurt again. So he's got that likability factor, and you guys can control that by being humble and quiet and having that humble, quiet confidence about yourself. This is what the other, so this guy right here, Edin Dzeko is his name. He's the #1 goal scorer in UEFA. So my buddy Darcy works with him. Last year, had a bad year. Goals weren't going in. And so this guy, played the entire year out. He reevaluated every one of his systems in the offseason. Guess how many systems he changed? By the way, I should preface this because he was the #2 goal scorer 2 years ago, not even in the top guys. So 3 years ago he was #2. 2 years ago didn't score many goals, and then this year he became the #1 goal scorer in Europe again. So this is like elite level competition, best soccer players in the world. How many systems does he change when he falls out of the top scorers to become #1? How many systems do you think he changed? He changed none, not one. He reevaluated every system. He said, hey, I'm doing this. I've already played 8 years. I'm doing all these things. I know these systems work. He went back and watched all the film. Darcy said that he just had some bad luck, man. It's like he shoots the ball and here's the post and the ball wouldn't go in. So he reevaluates every single one of his systems, says, hey, I'm going to stay the course. I know what I'm doing is right because it's worked for 8 years. #1 goal scorer in UEFA.
So you said, so you thought so is that what most athletes do? They reevaluate, they have to change everything?
The real pros, they constantly evaluate and reevaluate. So they're always asking themselves, can I do this better? Is this system working for me? And so they use coaches, and he had the soccer trainers, and then he looked at his performance staff, they looked at all his physical therapy stuff, and they said, hey, look, we're not going to change a thing. And clearly it wasn't the systems, because some